Okay, so this is episode 5 of the Tartatime Vodcast. I am Tarta, also known as TS Tappin, to those who like to read. And my co-host is TL Hodel. And we have some fabulous mystery authors in the house tonight. So we have A.L. Hatcher, and she is the excuse me, the author of the Tess Dane series. And I saw you also had a book called Jar of Teeth, which was very interesting to me, which is a collection of short stories, I believe.
Yeah.
Um, and then
I love that title, by the
yeah,
way.
right, right. Um, we also have MK Dean, which who has the Ginny Reese Mysteries, but also under McKenna Dean, you have the Red Claw Origins series, I believe.
Yes.
Okay. And then we have J.C. Fuller, which is one of my besties. And she introduced me to mysteries, as a matter of fact. And she is the author of the Rockfish Island Mystery series and Safe to Assume. I didn't think I liked mysteries. Okay. But then I was like, she's my bestie. I'm going to read her book. And I started reading her book and I was like, I love mysteries.
That's
so,
right.
Now, Miss TL,
Yes.
I'm going to introduce myself, and I know you hate it, but when I'm done,
Okay.
you have to introduce yourself.
Okay.
I am T.S. Tappin. I write spacey shifter romance about bikers. I'm the author of the Howlers MC series and the Tiger's Claw MC series. Now go ahead.
I'm TL Hodel. I write dark romance, mostly contemporary, secret society, bully, enemies to lovers. There.
She is talking about herself. Now, see, here's the thing. I would love to be able to write a mystery, but I tell all the secrets. Okay, I can't, like, when I know about it, everybody else knows about it. Okay, so I couldn't write a mystery because I'd be like, so and so did it. I can't do it. Like, I wouldn't be able to keep the secret. So my characters don't even tell me what happens because they don't tell me until I write it. Because
That is a good question. Do you guys always know who did it when you start, or does that come later as you're writing?
I think that really depends on how much you are a plotter versus a pantser. And I have to say that I've always been a pantser, but I've become more of a plotter since I started writing mysteries. But I started out as a romance writer.
Okay.
I wrote romances because I didn't think I was smart enough to write a mystery. I mean, in my head, I was just like, I can't do that. I'm not smart enough. And I noticed that all of my romances, somebody died, maybe more than one person. I was like,
Wow.
Maybe you were in the wrong genre. That might be a hint.
I mean, I write bikers. Somebody always dies.
Yeah, well, yes. But so now that I write mysteries, there's always a romance. So I see a pattern here. But no, I don't always know who the murderer is when I start out. And quite frequently somebody will be like, I had no idea who the killer was. That was amazing. I'm like, you know what? Neither did I. So sometimes I do, but not always.
I understand that. I'm a planter. I do both. I'll plot, and then my characters will destroy my plot as I'm writing. And yeah.
Now, see, I'm the opposite. I do know who the unaliver is, and I've figured out the basics. Is I know who the unaliver is, why they've done it, and how they've done it, but all the in between is I have to sit down and figure that out. Are you the same, AL?
Normally I come up with like I don't know, a random idea. Like I'll have a general outline. I guess I'm kind of like a planter, like I'm in between. I have a general idea of where I want to go, and then sometimes it'll totally change in the middle of, but yeah, it's just kind of each of the books is different. Sometimes I know from the beginning what I want to happen, and then other times I'll tweak it in a different direction that I didn't think originally was going to happen. So
That's what
it's hit
makes
or
writing
miss.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because then even when I'm writing, I don't know exactly how I'm going to get there, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's kind of hard to plan it out sometimes.
Now, do you usually start at the end, JC, because you know
Mhm.
who it
Oh yeah,
is?
my
Do
way
you
backwards.
work your way backwards?
Yeah, I do actually. I do. So I like the idea of a premise, and I think it's because of my '80s kids. You know, you had all these TV scary TV series, you know, and you'd have the spooky house and this and that, which I've always wanted to watch or write a spooky house mystery, and I never have. So that's on my to-do list someday. But it, you know, I always started with the finale and had to work my way to what got me to the end, so that it's like, okay, I know who I want to have done it. I know how I want to them have done it, because I gotta start with the victim, but
Mm-hmm.
then you gotta plot everything around the victim. And
Mm-hmm.
that's something that I've always said about mysteries is not only do you got to figure out who did it, how they did it, why they did it, and then what they did to get caught, on top of two or three other people that are equally could have done it, why they would have did it, how they would have done it, and why they didn't do it. I mean, there is a lot of moving pieces. So I originally, when I first started with my first book, writing it not the right way, I had completely pantsed it. I would get this bright, shiny idea, get to the middle of it, and then run out of ideas, and then I would lose interest and drop it all together. Now I have to sit down and plot it out from beginning to end, so that I have a roadmap to know where I'm going. But that's not to say that I don't get little brilliant spots of inspiration, little new twists that I'm like, ooh, that's much better than what I had before. And go with those. So you have to be open to changing the route along the way, as long as you get to your destination.
Right, right. Now, when you get an idea for a book, does it usually start with a character, or does it start with like an event and then you build on that?
Well, I'll answer that. So I get little tiny movie clips in my head. So with Black
I'm not
Bear
the only one.
and the Push, yeah, with Black Bear, it's about I had a little tiny clip in my head of this sheriff on a ferry, and the lights are flickering. There's water pelting the
Ranger Joe?
windows.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
and there's this urgency that this sheriff has to get to this island, and that's
I
just like
know
a
his name's not Ranger Joe, by the way. It's just what
I know,
I've called him since I started reading the first book.
but I have no idea why this sheriff needs to get to the island. I just know that they do, and that kind of just got it going in my head. Like, well, why would they need it? Well, it's because there's someone they got to catch. And da, 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 da. So for me, same thing with the Push. The title kind of says it all. I just had this vision of this person sitting on the very cusp of a cliff looking down, and suddenly the oof of the going over, and that was it. And then I was like, well, who pushed her? Well, why did they push her? Like, you know, it just kind of goes from there, and then next thing you know, you've got your victim and everybody else. So, but that's, I don't know. MK Dean, who I fangirl over, also over Ale Hatcher, but MK, she's one of my favorite. I'm very curious what her take is on it as well, because I'd like to learn a few things.
So with my series, I started out knowing that I wanted my protagonist to be a veterinarian, and part of that was you have all of these television shows like Diagnosis Murder, and you know where the protagonist is a very busy doctor doing all kinds of doctor things, but apparently has plenty of time to solve murders, which I find hilarious. And so I made my protagonist a house call veterinarian because I figured that would give her the flexibility to go into people's homes and go to places where she, might hear things or see things or do things. So that was the first step, was creating a protagonist that had the flexibility to not be in an office all the time, to not be working so hard that she couldn't be a snoop. And then the second thing that came along would be, the idea for the murder. And in the first book, the idea was in part the development of this very small town. That would be the saving of the town, but it would also be the destruction of the town. Anytime you get big developers moving into a small community, that community is never going to be the same. And so once I had that initial idea of what was going to be the trigger for the murder, then my next thought was just keep throwing characters in that could have done it, and just throw them at the wall and maybe one will stick. And I, because I wanted enough ambiguity, I wanted enough people, to have as suspects. The biggest regret that I may have about creating this series is that I did not people it well enough in the first book. And by that, I mean that I made Jenny's social contacts pretty small. And when you do that, you sort of run out of things and characters. And I was at Malice Domestic the year before last, and Donna Andrews, who writes the whole very prolonged series of books, and they all have bird puns for the title, like turns of endearment and things like that. And she said what she did was she created a character with a huge family, and this family all had different occupations. So when her character needed a paralegal, or when her character needed a plumber, or whatever, that there was somebody in the family who could provide this information. And clearly I did not do that. So as the series has progressed, I have given Jenny more people to kind of rely on.
But I think you've got a really good window there, because one of the things about your character, real quickly, is they have a source. I don't want to ruin the book for anybody. And so that can open up a lot of doors that you normally wouldn't have. So
true, and at the same time, it's a source of conflict for her. Eventually, for things to progress, somebody sooner or later is going to be like, you've got to stop doing this. You've got to stop poking your nose into, so yeah, I'm not quite sure where we go from here. We're kind of we're resting on the shelf of a cliff. There's a little tiny ledge, and I'm just sitting there for a while going, well, we've gotten this far. I'm not sure how much further it is to the top, but we're going to rest here for a while I think about where I put my next climbing piton.
Well, and I do have a question to you. Do you guys, I used to do crime scene cleanup. So do you guys do forensic research at all for your books? And what does that look like? Do you think you're on a watch list too?
We happen to have somebody with 2 degrees in forensics on our panel today. I saw on a website, Miss A.L. Hatcher. So, which I was excited to see, because I was like, as an author, to know somebody who has degrees in forensics when you write books where you might need to know some things about forensics. I was like, that's a connection.
Yes, that would be
that's
nice
called networking. I just messaged somebody yesterday whose husband is an RN, because we had questions. I was like, hey, D. Williams, your husband's a nurse, right? How long does it take to recover from 3rd-degree burns? And she was like, he said it depends on what part of the body and whether or not they need skin grafts. Could be months, or it could be years. So we need more information. So I'm just warning you, and you can tell me you're not answering my questions. But you might get questions from me. That's all I'm saying.
Yes, having a forensics degree would be helpful because I'm definitely on a watch list because of some of the stuff I had to research.
No, no, I have the degrees. I ended up making bad decisions with my now ex-husband, and so I never actually like got to work in the field, but I'm paying off the student loans. So I decided, well, I want to be a writer, and I like forensics, so that's how I started writing the crime thrillers. Um, so if I do come across like a topic that I need to like refresh my brain for, then I do ask Google or ask my old professor, double check with him. Like I had him read The Blood Eagle before, just to make sure that I wasn't doing anything stupid. And he read it and he's very accurate. Like, this is great. And I'm like, okay. Um, but there is, like, I had to take an anthropology class, and there were facts about like how to determine race by looking at different features on the skull. And I found it fascinating, some of the ways. Um, and so I wanted to use those ways in one of my books, and so that's why in Hill of Bones that just came out, a modern day skeleton is found buried, like hidden up next to a prehistoric Hopewell like Native American burial ground. Well, the skull is Caucasian, and they along the investigation they determine that because the anthropologist looks at it, but by looking at the teeth, so the incisors, like Caucasians are more like blade like, the front incisors, where or like
Those
shovel
are
like.
bikes.
They're more like, yeah, like
I know the sound of a motorcycle. Sorry, go on.
you know. Um, so I thought that was a cool one of like the a cool fact that I learned like many years ago, and so I wanted to like drop that into one of my books, and so I made sure that I put that in um, into like Hill of Bones and stuff. So a lot of the facts, if you read that book, when the anthropologist is like nerding it up about the bones in the Emmy's office,
It was
that's
you.
me. Like, it's me being a nerd, okay? About it and stuff. And I was, you guys know the actress Kathy Najimy?
Mm-hmm.
Is she playing on like Sister Act? She
Oh,
always,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
that's who I imagined when I was like trying to like describe the anthropologist from OSU. So like if you ever read that book, imagine Kathy Najimy saying all that stuff.
So for me, the research, I mean, I just love the research. The research is so much fun, and it's my excuse to buy all the books, right? So I have books on poisons and on guns and on forensics and cadaver
That's how she
dogs
got
and,
on the list. Anyway, go
yeah,
on.
yeah. And I'm just saying, that it's just, my list of my shelf of books, that I don't actually need because cozies don't really want all of that detail. But I'm like, but I need these books. I need them.
What you want to do with the research, every once in a while I'll type in my search engine, "It's okay, Agent Steve, I'm an author," just in case some FBI agent out there is watching me.
Mm-hmm. You gotta end like your search with writer's resource or writer's research. You know what I mean?
I
Just to
don't
let them
know if
know.
they still do it, but I went to Writers Police Academy once, and that was a fabulous experience. They, they they had it associated with a criminology training uh, academy, and so we had a course on armed intruders in the building, and you could learn how to spin out a car and take out another car. You could learn how to put on a tourniquet. I mean, there was just so much: how to investigate a crime scene, how to look at an arson scene, and the attending it live was amazing. I attended one year virtual, and it wasn't quite the same.
No, I can imagine that wouldn't be the
Yeah,
same.
but I would look into it if it's still around. I think it moves. I don't think it's in the same place anymore. But Writers Police Academy is
I got
awesome.
it. Writers police.
If you guys ever need to know, the most common way a mother unallows children is by drowning. That was why I'm going to install that search on my engine.
Yeah, I find myself going down the rabbit hole when I do research big time. So I get really easily distracted. But the other thing that drives me nuts is I always find the answer that does not work with what I have planned for the story. So, sorry, someone's at my door. My dog's gonna go off. But so, for instance, with the latest, I'm gonna mute myself for just a second.
So, has anybody else named their agent?
Oh yes, you're the agent watching your searches. I think I'm the only one.
I figure mine just rotate all the time. There's no point in
No.
although I did once, because I thought somebody was poaching my Wi-Fi. I did change my router name to FBI surveillance van.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. We lived in the last place we lived before we moved here. Someone had their Wi-Fi named "Get Your Own Wi-Fi."
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. Nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
I don't have a name agent, but I'm sure I'm on some kind of watch list.
I think we should somebody should make a TikTok filter for authors to find out what their FBI's agent name is.
Yes.
I wish that was funny, but it's not really anymore.
No, I guess not with everything that's happening now. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, true, but listen, laugh or cry at this point, and I'm choosing to laugh. It's just how I'm gonna live my life. Listen, if they, anyway, everything good at your house, JC?
Yes. So sorry. Not expected to someone.
You were talking about going down the rabbit hole.
Yes, rabbit holes.
Yes. Going down a rabbit hole. But what frustrates me is I typically find out something that will make whatever my idea not work. So then it's you're scrambling to Google to see how you can take your idea because it's such a good idea and not have to throw it away completely. And so that's what I actually end up like calling people in the industry and be like, listen, this is my idea. It's super, super dual. I realize that this is not going to work because of blah, 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 blah. How can what inside scoop do you know that's gonna make it work? And so for instance in the book that I'm working now, I had this idea of a body being found in a old oil drum from the 1950s. Cool, right? However, that would in salt water been rusted through within easily a year and a half. That's not going to work. So, but if it is coated in tar, it will sustain, it would totally last. So that's the workaround that I found. And they did back in the 1950s, they did coat oil drums in tar. So it all ends up working out. But, you know, now, will the average Joe maybe know that? Yes, maybe not. Who knows? So that's the other thing is when you find the answer or the solution from your research, sometimes you got to spell that out in your explanations so that the reader's on board with you.
So you know where Dirty Dancing was filmed?
Yes.
The movie. It was filmed at Mountain Lake. And Mountain Lake is a spring-fed lake. And what nobody realized, because the cycle was so long, but periodically the lake just disappears, just completely disappears. And the current owners of it have been working very hard to try and fix this problem because the water's not going to come back in their lifetime. And it's not Mountain Lake if there's no lake.
Yeah.
But when the lake disappeared, they found a body that had gone overboard on a midnight boating incident in the 20s, in the 1920s. And the lake was so cold and so deep that the body was almost preserved, and they were able to find like the wallet and the identification and coins. And
That's crazy.
I mean, not it wasn't like he was in ice or anything. I mean, clearly
No, but it was cold.
Yeah.
but it was much more there than they thought would be there.
Oh, that's
Wow.
cool.
And they're like, oh, that was the dude that fell off the boat in 1926. So we know who he is.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Cool.
Yeah.
Huh.
Do you ever come across any type of... I know, okay, let's just be real. All of us listen to
True crime stuff?
true crime,
Mhm.
right? We can
Mhm.
all admit that, right? Okay. Do you ever come across any part of true crime or maybe the entire thing that inspires any of your books?
Yeah.
My latest, safe to assume, is loosely based off of it was inspired by, not based off, excuse me, off of a true crime documentary called They Call Him Harmless, which I highly recommend. And it's about a man that is found on a trail. He's taking a trail from one side of the U.S., ends up into Florida. And when they find him, this is not the part that my book's inspired by, but I just find it interesting. But when they find him, he is not only unalived, but he's nothing but skin and bones. And they find him recently after his passing. The other interesting thing is that there's a whole bunch of food that is hanging from a tree right next to his tent. So it's not like he didn't have food. He has no ID on him. He's been out in the wilderness all by his little lonesome. So they, of course, try to identify him. And this is where a team of armchair detectives get involved, which is where my inspiration came from my book. And they start to try to figure out who this guy is. And then within themselves, they start to fight and they break up in two. And so then it's a race to figure out who this guy is, and they're not very nice to each other. And they stumble across this one guy that they think is somehow associated with the man from Florida, and make his life living hell because they're convinced he has
Oh, wow.
Poor guy didn't even know him from Adam. Anyway, by the end of the documentary, they do figure out who the gentleman was that was in the tent. They have their speculations of what happened, but there's a nice twist, which I will not ruin for you. But by the end, you're like, so it was really, really good. So I watch a lot of true crime. That is what I relax to. And it does give you little tidbits of ideas that you're just like, oh, that's interesting. But I try to be really mindful of not, because I know that there's true crime writers out there that will write someone's case from beginning to end. I
Right.
think wonderful and respectful to the victims.
You don't want to disrespect the victims or their families. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's something I find fascinating. It's a difference between the US and Canada, right? Is you guys your media almost like pushes any serial killers or fantastic crimes and stuff that you guys have down there. Up here, we get told nothing other than they did this and they were arrested. That's it. That's all we know.
It's sensationalized.
Yes,
Mhm.
exactly. Yeah, sensationalized. So we've had some horrific, killers up here, but you hear more about, down there like Ted Bundy and, BTK and all that. I kind of wish we had more information on the ones up here. But yeah, that's my own morbid fascination.
Well, it starts with the fact that the right to know, because of our laws, it's the right to know, but it starts there. and then it takes off into sensationalism.
Yeah. The good thing, though, I do have to say, of the Son of Sam law, so they can't profit off of their crimes, which is good. Yeah. But
Yeah.
have you ever got inspiration from something like that, like a crime that was kind of sensationalized on TV, either from back then or, you know?
I was watching one of my favorite YouTube channels is called The Casual Criminalist. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's this, he lives in I can't remember what country, but he's from the UK. He doesn't live in the UK now, but he lives in another country in Europe. But he what he does is he has this group of writers that write papers for him on all these cases, and they give them to him, and he has no idea about the cases ahead of time, and all he's doing is reading what they wrote. He knows nothing about it ahead of time, and he's reading it, and he's giving you his reaction as he's reading it, and he's taping it. That's it. So, like, he's reading it just like, you know, any other voice actor would, and then all of a sudden he's like, what do you mean? Rule number 1, don't write down your crimes. You know what I mean? You get this random outburst, this random tangent from him in this British accent. It's a great channel. But so I was watching one of his videos, and he was they were talking, the writer had gone through this horrendous torture that somebody had gone through, and somewhere in the middle I was like, I had never heard that torture treatment before. And I picked up my pad of paper and I was like, and I was like, I'm gonna use that. And just random, and they're talking, and he is totally mortified. But what these people had gone through, in my writer brain was like, oh, that'd be good in a book. And not the entire thing, just this one torture treatment. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Well, everything that I experience, I say, oh, that's grist for the mill.
Yeah.
You know, I'm in a hospital, and, you know, somebody that's close to me is very ill, and I'm like, wow, you really want to remember the scent of the disinfectant in here, and the sounds of the beeping machines, and the presence of hushed voices, and the smell of stale coffee, and I think this internal observer is a way that many of us shield ourselves from events that are going on in our lives, because we can just put some distance between ourselves, and we can go, oh, well, that'll be good in a story, you know.
That makes sense.
My therapist says my therapist says I live and write in third person.
Mm-hmm.
See, I do see the distance. I used to clean the hospital too, so I saw a lot of weird stuff. But again, my writer brain would be like, "Oh, that's interesting. Let's keep a mark for this." Yep.
Now, if anyone wants to know about torturing techniques, A.L. Hatcher happens to be an authority on that.
Okay, so another thing to
now you have another resource.
All right, just add that to the list of things to message A.L. about. No.
Well, so I was listening to Morbid True Crime podcast, and because at the time I had like a 45-minute commute, and I was listening to their episode about torture, and they were going through all the different like old-timey ways of offing people. And
you know, their torture just goes through so many fashions.
Yeah. I was like, and I'm like, oh, and then I just started thinking, like, what if somebody was going around using all these different ways to like kill people, and then I was, you know, thinking, oh, it'd have to be a serial killer and it would have to be something pretty bad for them to do that. And that's how I came up with the idea for the story, The Blood Eagle. And of course, The Blood Eagle, in my opinion, is the worst of them all. So that, and
horrible.
Pretty cool name. So that's why I chose that to be the title. So that one was kind of inspired by a true crime podcast. And I already knew what a lot of the different torture ways were that they talked about, and there was still like a whole bunch more that I didn't even put.
Weren't on the radar.
There's some awful ones. The paravenus, that brass bowl that they would just put someone in and kind of like cook a lot. Horrible.
Yeah, that they talked about the brass bowl, and there was a bunch of other ones, and I'm like, I could do like a whole second, like a copycat or something. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta get all those methods in.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's funny, like, because when I do, like I was telling you guys earlier, I did the signing event yesterday. As like people come up to my table and I'm like, these are my crime thrillers with a female detective, and they're like, okay, and like I'll show them, and like, this is book 1, and I'll say she's tracking a serial killer using ancient torture and execution methods, and like everyone's like, oh, and like some people know what a blood eagle is, and then they'll be like the Vikings, and I'm like, yeah, and oh, and so then they're like grossed out but interested all at the same time, and then other people just get caught up on the whole like torture aspect, and they're like, I want to read this, and I'm like, okay. So I don't know, fun watching reaction. So.
I think it's like the fascination with horror, right? Almost like that morbid side of our brain kind of wants to know about this stuff, not necessarily do it ourselves, but know about it. Yeah. Or is it just me?
I think there's something in that. I think my cousin and I were talking the other day, and he's like, how can you ladies sit there and watch all this true crime stuff? Like, don't you just live life on, completely paranoid? And I'm like, no. In fact, if anything, I am more aware of my surroundings. I am more apt to think of something that could happen but won't happen. I'm not going to let it happen. Like, you just kind of...
We're always aware, though. We have to be aware.
We have to. It's like a learning tool. I actually used the true crime series Web of Lies. I made my daughter watch it all before I would let her talk to people online, so she could be aware of what could happen to her should she do, the wrong thing. And it's an information tool. It doesn't necessarily scare us, but it brings clarity, I guess.
And never, ever, ever allow yourself to be taken to a second location.
Exactly.
Facts.
Die on the spot.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be taken to a second location.
No.
And yell mom. If you're a kid, yell mom.
Yeah.
Actually,
woman, no, even if they don't have kids, I don't have kids, but my head would go.
Yeah.
Well, the police say, so when I was a little girl, there was a guy going around the city where I lived in, and I was chased by someone. I don't know if it was him, but the police gave me a valuable piece of information. Then they said, don't yell help, yell fire, because people need fire. Yeah.
But here's another thing. Men don't ask children for help. Adults don't ask children for help. Men don't ask women for help. So anybody who's doing that, that's a big red flag right there. And make a scene. Don't be afraid to make a scene. More people die because they're afraid of being embarrassed. Don't be afraid.
Yeah.
No,
and I think what men don't realize is when they're like, women, how can you listen to these podcasts? How can you watch all this true crime and not, aren't you paranoid? What they don't realize is every day, everywhere we go, we're
carrying
aware
our
of our
keys through our fingers like we're, Wolverine.
We're aware of our surroundings. We're aware of who's around us. We're already looking in our back seats. We're already glancing over our shoulders. We're already paranoid.
That was there was a comedian, I think it was Andrew Schultz, who was talking about that, how we would watch, right? Like jogger raped in the park, and then you go jogging in the park at night. I'm like, it's because it's this Sunday. It's like that's a normal day. There's always that risk for a woman when they
It
do
just happened to be in the park. It could have been anywhere.
Yep.
It just happened to be in the park.
Yeah.
By the way, not to change the subject, but I just remembered. I did plan one thing for this. I know I'm winging it, but I did plan one thing for this. I wore my appropriate shirt.
I like-
That's great.
That's cool. Where'd you get that at?
Mama Hen, Cindy Kukas, sent this to me. It was my birthday present last year.
Ah.
So she got it extra big so I could sleep in it if I wanted to, she said. I call this my warning shirt. Generally, I wear this on therapy days or if I'm in a mood, so that I can warn the people around me.
I like it.
So I highly recommend that you get shirts like this and you wear them not just to your book signing events, but you wear them around town.
Oh, I
cannot
do.
tell you how many conversations have started over coffee or, you know, at the airport or what have you, because somebody looks at my shirt and goes, "Oh, are you a writer?"
Yeah.
I'm like, yes, I am.
And
And
I
kill
casually
people for a
say
living.
things. I casually say things at the gas station like, having a rough day today. I keep trying to warn people, but
I don't know if I could do. I moved from a big city to a small town. We've got 2,000 people and like 8 churches. So I'm not sure if
you
what I
mean
write would go over well.
you mean the pastors don't want to read your dark romance?
I don't think so. No. Probably go about as well as when my daughter told her teacher I was an author and he asked me to talk to their class until I told him what I wrote. I should mention she was in a Catholic school at the time and I had to be like, you don't want me to do
My
that.
daughter told the pastor's wife that I sold pure romance.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
I do have another question for you guys. I just thought of this. Speaking of my daughter, she's great at picking out the who did it in movies, right? Before the
Me too.
Do you guys find that since you write those kind of things, that it's harder for you to find a movie that will actually surprise you at the end?
It's harder. It's harder for me to be less critical as a reader.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I
Yeah.
love reading.
my
And
editing brain is always on.
Well, and you know, I just find myself saying, you know, wow, where was this editor? You know, how did this get published without a developmental edit or, you know, a line edit? So
Yeah.
and it's just because, you know, you're training your brain constantly. You're training your brain to catch these mistakes, and so sometimes I regret that I went from writing for fun to writing, you know, as a business.
Professionally.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
thought the same thing because, well, even with plots in movies, right? I can usually pick out what's going to happen before it happens. That's why I kind of like the mystery movies because I'll get surprised most of the time with who did it. But as someone who writes that kind of stuff, that's got to be hard to find a movie that could actually, you know, surprise you.
I'm always turning to my husband like in the first 2 seconds of something. I'm like, they're gonna die. You know?
Yeah.
Or there'll be something and I'll be like, that's foreshadowing. Like,
Yeah.
Yep.
I know
Mhm.
that's gonna come up later. Like, so then your brain starts to automatically start working it out. But when I do find a movie that has surprised me, it's like my new favorite movie for forever. Like
Right.
that thrill of just getting to be surprised by it. You're just like it just becomes so much more precious.
That's why when I read a book where the authors like totally catch me off guard, I will yell at them. And I mean it lovingly. I totally mean it lovingly, but I will message them or call them if I have their number or whatever, and I will yell at them because you did it.
Yeah.
If you can get, and I am 17 books in. I have written 17 books, okay? Thank you. If you can get me you can totally throw me off
Mhm.
and I don't see any of it coming. Like if I think I know and I am dead sure that I know and I am completely wrong. Listen, you're going to hear from me. JC heard from me because the push, I knew, and then I didn't know, and then I knew, and then I didn't know, and then I knew, and then I didn't know. Over and over and over and over again. She heard from me. I don't know how many times when I was reading that book, because I thought I knew so many times. But you're going to hear from me. You know?
Those books too, the ones that could shock you, or movies. For me, it's more, I'm a horror movie fan. So when I find a horror movie that can actually scare me, I will tell everyone about it because I'm so desensitized to them now.
That's why I had a little thing that I was doing on TikTok at one point where I was using that "Dumb Ways to Die" song, and I would have the character in a book, you know, that was doing something, and then the "Dumb Ways to Die" song would play, and it was because you know, it would be the, you know, character announces to the entire family that she's changing her will in the morning, you know, "Dumb ways to die," you know. Brilliant.
Well, I
character knows who the killer is, but, you know, won't tell you over the phone. You have to come meet her in person.
Oh my God, that's so true. Those are cliches. That's like the wife who answers the door, you know, that fur trimmed robe right after her husband died under suspicious circumstances. That always happened. Yeah.
A.L. Hatcher and I, we had a little bit of a competition going thanks to Tarta, who had run this best mystery author thing. And so A&L we both had some playful banter back and forth with videos on how we would unalive each other so that, you know, I would ultimately win or she would ultimately win. And she was coming up with stuff in her videos and I was like I need to seriously watch my back.
I had to finally make a video. All of you guys, I finally had to make a video and be like, you guys are mystery authors. So,
see, people worry about...
Why are you leaving evidence on this app?
Well, if people worry about dark romance authors, they're like, what's happening in your head? I'm like, listen, man, mystery authors already have the disposal, the forensics covered, all of that, okay? I just have some psychopath falling in love. I'd be more worried about that.
And I gotta tell you, bamboo grows 3 feet a day.
Oh.
3 feet a day. Faster than you can say shallow grave.
Bamboo. I'm writing this as Don Dougal says. I'm writing this in old lady. What'd she call it?
Cursive.
No, she called it something. It is cursive, but she called it
shorthand.
Oh, old lady hieroglyphics.
I had someone tell me, I think they were a mystery author too. They're like, bury the body 8 feet down, then 2 feet above that, put a dead animal, and then when the ground radar goes by, it'll pick up the animal and go right over the body.
Or you could do the protected
species.
Yeah. A.L. Hatcher, are there anything else? Can you recommend something else? I know you know.
Now,
Snakes will eat almost everything of a body too.
What is my favorite question to ask mystery authors when I talk to them? This is my favorite question. I probably should save it for my interview with JC, but I'm going to ask it now anyway. What is the most interesting or surprising fact that you've learned while researching?
For me, I'm in this. You guys are probably right. Everybody knows this, but twins do not have the same fingerprint. That was something I did not know. The identical twins are identical in every single way, except they have their own fingerprint, which is so fascinating when you think about the bazillions and zillions and zillions of people on this world, and even identical twins don't share fingerprints.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, that is cool. I don't know. I'm trying to think of a fact. No, of course, my mind.
Well, I have a fact. It's not necessarily a mystery fact, but I was surprised at how many different layers there are in an eyeball. And you don't want to know. Watch to find that out. It was not. Mm-mm.
Yeah, ophthalmology has its own vocabulary
Mhm.
because there's so much to the eye.
So much.
So
Yeah.
much.
Huh.
Yeah. For me, when the most recent book that I wrote was called A Nose for Death, and I had intended for nose work and scent work with dogs to have a bigger role in it than it did, but my story just changed on me. But one of the things that I found fascinating is that the dog's sense of smell is so incredible and so much more than I think most people realize. I read a study where they were trying to determine if dogs could detect cancer, and they had a control subjects and they had subjects who had bladder cancer, and so they were having the dogs smell urine samples, and the dogs were only about 50-50 correct on the samples where the people were being treated for bladder cancer. But then all 6 dogs hit on one sample in the control, and that person had undetected bladder cancer. And the theory is that the people that were being treated, the chemicals in the urine affected the dog's ability to pick up on it.
But they could, the untreated, they can.
The untreated person, every dog in the study went, oh wait, whoa, you better check that one out.
But they can sense when you're not feeling well. They can sense when your mood changes, your
Right,
hormones are off.
but this is
they sense
an actual scent
Smell.
thing. So like
Well, they smell
friend
your
of mine-
hormones. They smell your hormones.
A friend of mine, her
Speaking
dogs,
of, hi.
her dogs have a lot of them have become diabetic alert dogs. And so they can detect changes in your blood sugar and alert you to, the fact that you need to monitor your blood sugar or insulin and what have you. And one of her clients was at a parade. Her dog alerted. She checked her blood sugar and it was normal. And she was like, well, that's really weird. And then she started asking the people around her, was anybody diabetic? And the dog had actually alerted on somebody in that immediate group whose blood sugar was way off.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's the dog smell thing is another thing that I'd done research on, actually inspired by MK Dean. She talked about it, and I had this vision that when dogs alerted, that they would go crazy, they'd bark and they'd go circles and just dig the ground or whatever. And so I had already in my head like preemptive written this scene, and then when I did the research, I went, oh, they don't do that at all.
I know a lot of the cadaver dogs
they just plop themselves down and they're just like, here it is. So I ended up writing that misconception into the story to be like, this is the reality of it. This is what you may think, but this is the reality of it. But it's still fascinating to watch, and I YouTubed for hours, rabbit hole, watching these dogs and their handlers work together to do all the things that they have to do, and the false sense that people put out so that they don't get sidetracked, and they put out dead animal scents because they don't want that to be a distraction. They want them to focus on the human scent of decomposition, and it's actually very, very fascinating, very cool.
So I do some nose work with my dog, and each dog has its own tell, its own way of signaling, and the trainers will reinforce what they want. So in nose work competitions, you really don't want the dogs pawing the boxes or doing anything like that. So my dog, when he gets close to something, he puts his nose on it and then he licks it. And then I go, alert, and the person who's running the thing goes, yes, and I'm like, okay, good dog. But he probably shouldn't lick it either, but that's what he does.
I can't do that stuff with cats. Cats are assholes. They would deliberately take you to the wrong spot. I could see that.
Well, when we put food in a bowl for a dog, the dog is like, ah, they must be gods. And when we put food in a bowl for a cat, the cat goes, huh, I must be a god.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, my dog knew we were talking about dogs, though. He came over and was like, "You talking about me? I'm right here. I'm handsome. Look at me. Give
My
me
cat's
affection."
My cat's giving me the evil eye from across the room, probably because she heard me talking about dogs. So,
Or it could be because you called her an asshole.
it could be because I
Could
called
be
her.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, if somebody came to you and was like, "I want to write a mystery. I don't know where to start." What advice would you give them?
It was a dark and stormy night, and then go from there.
I mean,
Um,
that's good advice.
What kind of mystery you want to write? Because there are as many genres to mystery as there are to romance. And so in cozy mystery, there are things you can't say, there are things that you can't reference. Any sort of
So
romance has to be
know
off
what
screen, closed door.
know
So
what
you have to
kind of
know
genre and know what your
what the
that genre
audience
calls for.
expectations. Yeah. So make
Yeah.
sure that your cover is going to fit that genre. Make sure your title is going to fit that genre. Make sure the story is going to fit that genre.
Valid.
Because, if you start out with mystery, you do anything from, Agatha Christie to, some of Stephen King's stuff could be considered mystery. So
That's a valid point too. I think a lot of horror books and movies are miscategorized when they should be a thriller or a mystery as a horror.
Okay.
Silence of the Lambs to me is a mystery or thriller.
right. Yeah, I was just seeing. I read something online. There's somebody is hosting a podcast or whatever, arguing that You've Got Mail is not a rom com.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't say
I know, but a lot of people think it is, and so that they're doing a thing on this is why I don't think it's a rom com.
Yeah. And I think that would be an important piece of advice too. Like, know your genre, know the difference between horror and mystery, because there is a difference, right?
Well, and so JC doesn't consider herself as writing cozy mysteries. She considers it's more of a traditional mystery. And then to move sideways into thriller, you've got to have the distinction that this is a different kind of story, because if you have a set of readers that is expecting something and then they get surprised,
Right.
then they're not happy.
Right.
No. So it would be like writing a romance without an HEA.
Right.
At the end, right? And yeah.
It'd be like somebody picking up a T.S. Tappin book and nobody shifts into a predatory animal. They would be mad at me. I'd get trouble.
Well, it's one of the reasons why I have pen names, very similar pen names, but there are different.
When they come to expect something from a certain genre or a certain author, a certain name, and they don't get that, readers get upset. So if they're expecting a cozy mystery and they're not getting a cozy mystery from that book, they're going to be upset. So if you label it a certain thing and you don't meet the genre expectations, that's why you need to, like you said, you need to know what covers they expect. What if you don't have an HEA and you label it a romance, listen, you can do that, but you expect the backlash. Expect the backlash.
Will get hot.
Expect them to come for you. You know what I mean? Like, just know your genre. That is a good advice.
So I write paranormal romance under McKenna Dean, but those stories are mysteries. They're just,
mystery
that's not
romance.
the center. It's not the central part of the story. and I write, traditional cozy mysteries as MK Dean. I'm currently working on a paranormal cozy mystery, and I'm not sure which name I'm going to publish it under. I'm not sure where it's going to fit.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I'm not, I just don't know at this point.
I guess you would have to figure out if it's going to have more mystery or more romance, and then go
Well,
with
it's
that.
not a, it's not really a ton of romance. It's more paranormal. It's a paranormal
Then I
story.
would probably go with McKenna Dean
I know, I know, I know.
because it's got paranormal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's why I have two pen names and one website.
As a paranormal author, that's my suggestion.
hmm No, I've been pushing the MK Dean brand really hard for a while now, and so it feels like a step backwards. But the truth of the matter is, right now I'm writing what I want because it makes me happy.
But that
Um,
doesn't mean you can't. That doesn't mean you don't. You can't promote it on the MK Dean brand.
no, I know, I know. I'm at a point. I have been doing this for a very long time. I have written over 30 books,
Mm-hmm.
and I've under a wide variety of pen names. And I'm coming to a point in my life where I've been jumping through the hoops, man. I've been doing the ads, I've been doing the promotion, I have been doing all the right things, and not real. I've gotten a little traction, but I don't see that continuing on, particularly with the rise of AI. And so now I'm going to write what I want to write and hope it does not lose me money.
Mm-hmm.
That's the biggest goal right now. It's got to break even because I
Yeah.
can't afford to keep throwing the kind of cash at this that I have been.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
See,
feel you.
I'm stubborn. I know I write both. Well, I only have two paranormal books out right now, but I tried early on to release a paranormal book so my readers would know that
Mm-hmm.
I want to do both, right? And I don't have a pen name. It's my actual name, just initialized, which now that I'm in small Bible town, I'm not sure.
I have I started out writing paranormal biker. Um and it's my name, T.S. Tappin. Um but when I decided I was going to write suspense romance with no paranormal aspect, I was like, "Oh, I need a pen name." Um because if I try to put this out under TS Tappin, like I said, nobody's shifting.
Right, you're right.
My readers are gonna be like, "What is this?"
Well, so I love
So I
Elizabeth
have a pen name.
Peters. I love Elizabeth Peters writing. Okay, and the Amelia Peabody books. They are set in the late 1800s. They are hysterical. They're considered cozy romance. I mean, cozy mystery. But she also wrote gothic stories under the name of Barbara Michaels. And I just did not care for them at all. And if she had written all of those books under one name, 50% of the time I would have been disappointed by her stories, and I probably would have not kept reading.
Yep.
So I believe in the value of pen names. I just I've done the thing where I've had multiple websites, multiple email accounts, and
Yeah.
multiple social media accounts, and I've just like, oh, that's way too much work. So one website,
Yeah.
um,
I only have
everything's
one
there.
website, and I only have one TikTok page that I do anything on. Um, and I just promote everything on there.
Well,
Um,
look,
but I
I
do
had
have more than one pen name.
I had someone tell me to do my paranormal under Tara Hodel instead of TL Hodel, and then just, not have
Right,
another site or anything, right? Just so that my readers would know the
right,
difference,
right.
right?
Just as a right off the bat, the name
Yeah.
is slightly different. It's the author that I know, but it's not the same genre.
Yeah, which I might do because my paranormal romances don't get nearly as much traction as my contemporary romances, probably because I started off contemporary and have a huge contemporary audience.
Now, JC, did you consider that, or did you just decide that you wrote it was close enough that you,
I
as long as you marketed this is a thriller?
Yeah, I had considered doing a pen name for my witty gritty psychological thriller, and it's a short thriller. It's basically a novella, and the reason why I had considered it is with my uh, mystery series. There's no cussing. It's not. It's a little gritty, but not like overly gritty.
Right, right.
And so it does vary a little bit. And I have a thanks to my mom and her church group, have quite the older following of people that have gotten used to not having cuss words and not having, all this grit and stuff. So I had kind of considered it, but I had done a TikTok asking the readers, like, would this deter you, which, and the majority were like, oh no, I'd read it anyway, like that's totally like, no, that wouldn't. So I went ahead, and because as you stated, I put a lot of work into JC Fuller.
Yeah, yeah.
That name out there, or trying to, and building a following. And so it was, because now if I was doing like a rom-com or something completely over, I mean, I guess
very, very different.
Yeah,
way different. Yeah,
might reconsider that, quite a bit, but I do have a lot of humor in my books too, so I don't know, maybe not. But yeah, I had considered it, and then I just went, because it was such a little tiny book. And to be honest with you, to kind of go back to your question on advice to someone wanting to maybe start writing mysteries, my advice would be to not underestimate the reader. With book one of my series, I was so worried that the reader wouldn't get the mystery, wouldn't get the clues, that I kind of like blatantly laid them out, and it was like, did you see that, did you pick that up, did you notice that, did you notice it? And so one of the biggest complaints that I get about that book is I figured it out way too early. Yet there's a lot of people are like, no, but I mean, I thought I knew who it was, but then I thought, then you made me think it was this person, then you made me think it was this person. So my attitude is, listen, if I swayed your opinion at any point in this book, then I feel like I've done my job as the mystery author. Now, having said all of that, so far with my thriller, I overestimated the reader's ability to put some things together, because I got really crafty, a lot of misdirection. Everything's there. It is just very subtle there. And I am getting just hit with 2s and 3s like nobody's business with this new book, because people are like, I'm confused, I don't get it, which is fine. So then I had to add an epilogue to spell it out, and kind of tie it all together. And it's my fault. I got too tricky. I got too, and because it's a novella, it's a thin book, people, and you could sit down and easily read it in one reading. People are flying through it thinking they don't need to pay close attention to everything. And so, yeah, that would be my word of advice, is don't underestimate, don't make it too easy, but don't make it too hard. Gotta find a balance.
Yeah,
Find a balance.
That's hard to find the balance too. I guess you have to know your readers. I've had readers who've sent me pictures and they've got maps with, like, the red string trying to figure out, what's going on.
I want to see one of those for one of my books. I want somebody to send me one of those. That'd be awesome. How would you feel about somebody writing fan fiction about one of your books?
I would kind of be flattered, actually, mostly because my daughter and my roommate read a lot of fan fiction, and those sites are huge and they get a lot of readers. So yeah, I'd kind of be flattered, because and it might draw more readers to my book, right? Yeah.
I actually have Corinne.
What?
Yeah, Corinne Peterson. She no, that's the name I gave her character. I named a character after Corinne. Don't even know. I'm spacing her last name. Gosh darn it.
Dively.
Thank you. Yes, she fell in love with my lawyer, Alistair, and one of the other side characters, Sue Carter. And she literally wrote this love story about them going off to Europe. And it was absolutely adorable. They start off on the island and then they go off to Europe and they have their little romance. And I'm just like, and it's so funny because these are characters that I write and I feel that I know intimately. And as I'm reading this, I'm blushing because it was a little spicy. I was like, you know what? Like I could make this work. Like I could, not copy what she's doing, but like insinuate a little bit more romance or insinuate a little bit more of a backstory for them, inspired by her. But that was really
That's very cool.
That's cool.
Very cool.
I think it'd be
because it says that your writing spoke to somebody on a level strong enough that they wanted to spend more time with these characters.
I think I would be okay with it as long as it was respectful to the characters and the story and the world. I think it doesn't have to be like completely honoring what you built, but like respectful. As long as it's respectful, I think it's okay.
Yeah.
Oh, did we lose AL?
No, she turned sideways.
Yeah, she turned sideways.
It's completely black on my screen.
Yeah, I can't see her.
I can see her. She's sideways.
I don't know that she can hear us though.
Can you hear us, AL? I think we lost her.
I mean, I can see her, but she's gone sideways.
Let me see if I can fix it.
No, I think it's on her end.
She might be answering a text or something.
Oh, she could be. Yeah,
probably.
Because I was going to ask her a question. I mean, we kind of talked about. Prior to this starting, we talked about, do series have a finite end? And
we'll give her a minute to come back. Yeah. While we're waiting, because we are about time to wrap it up. So while we're waiting for her, why don't we go ahead and let you guys? No.
No, she was saying, she was mouthing, "Can you hear me?" And I was going, "No, we can't."
Hold on, let me try something. Uh-oh. She can always try. You can always try leaving and coming back if you want.
Come back, we have questions.
Yeah. I can bring you back in when you come back. Yeah, because I'm trying to bring her back in and it's not working.
But you said you while we were waiting, you had a question?
Yeah. Why don't you guys take this time?
Then she's logging out and we'll come back.
Okay. In the meantime, why don't the two of you go ahead and tell us what you're working on or just released, anything you want to promote, to go ahead and give us the deets.
Well, I'll start.
Yes, you start.
Top of the screen. So I have my currently 4-book series, the Rockfish Island Mystery Series, book 1 being Black Bear Alibi. I am currently working on book 5, which I am really looking forward to because I did take a break to write my first witty gritty psychological thriller called Safe to Assume. And this was really fun. This one I completely pantsed. I knew how it was going to end. But other than that, every day was a new exciting I would end a chapter and be like, how am I going to get myself? And so it was really fun. And then I did the addition of adding like evidence. I don't know if you can see that very
Oh,
well.
cool.
There's evidence and pictures and chat rooms, and because it's modern day, it's about a man who goes on a date. 72 hours later, his date shows up on the national news as a missing person, and not only a missing person, but the possible victim of a serial unaliver. And it comes upon that.
I want to read that.
Yeah, it starts looking at him, and then a group of armchair detectives become convinced that he's the guy, and they go try to prove that to someone's demise. I'm not going to tell you whose. And so it was so much fun to write, which just breaks my heart that it's not going as well as I would love it to go, because it was just a blast to write. But I will say this: I've missed my island. I've missed my little mystery island, and I'm ready to get back to my female sheriff and hunky park ranger. Phil, not Ranger Joe.
Ranger Joe!
And so I'm looking forward to getting back to my island. But I do have aspirations of trying a rom-com someday, or like a mystery cozy.
I can definitely see you doing that.
Or you could try. Listen, you join the bikers. Remember, I wrote a biker book about you.
Yes, you did.
You're a biker babe now. You're a biker babe. Buttercup, you're a biker babe now.
Yes. That was an honor. That was really, really
that is her biker name, by the way. Buttercup.
Fitting. Buttercup. Anyway, but that's me.
Anyway.
Okay, MK, what do you got?
So I have just released the 4th book in the Jenny Reese Mysteries. There's 4 and a holiday novella in that series. And the first book in the series, An Embarrassment of Itches, is currently only 99 cents on all platforms, because I want to, it's because of the new release. I'm trying to get people to recognize where to start the series and get started on that. I've also written 2 books in the Red Claw Origins series, which is a paranormal romance about a shifter agency that it's kind of like I
gonna have to get in that. I'm gonna have to get in that one.
It's not going to be what you expect, because it's
I don't care.
I call it Bringing Up Baby Meets Warehouse 13. It's set in the 1950s.
I'm still gonna read.
And I need to get back to that at some point and finish that series. That's a series that I wrote out of love, and it has not sold well, and yet I don't want to make it an orphan series. But I'm currently working on a paranormal cozy mystery. My main character is she has inherited property that has Brigadoon-like characteristics. So this property can move through time and space. And she has to bond with the property in order to stabilize these portals between universes. And the universe that she had no idea that existed, there's griffins and dragons and all sorts of mythological creatures. So the series is called The Myth Element. And when she finds out she inherits this property, she also finds out that her grandmother was murdered. And so it's also a cozy paranormal mystery. It's tentatively titled Hexes, Lies, and Alibis. So
Nice. I like that.
It's nice.
What you got going on over there, AL?
I have my crime thriller series, and I just had book 3 in the series come out. So they're called, the first one is The Blood Eagle, the second one is River of Lies, and then the newest one is Hill of Bones. And they all follow a female deputy and her dog Otter, and there's a little bit of romance, but it's not anything like scandalous. Because I knew my dad was going to read it, so I made it like although he started reading Hill of Bones, and apparently he told my mom it's not his favorite of my books because there's too much romance. even though there's really not that much. But
Yeah.
um, and then aside from that series, then I have Little Jar of Teeth, which is my collection of like 10 like dark and twisted tales. They're not like super horror, but they're just
I
dark.
love that title. I love
Yeah,
it.
that's a great title.
Argue that because there is a story that she wrote that I still think about.
Which one?
It's rooted. It's stuck.
Which one? Which one is it?
The one where they're looking for their daughter. I don't want to give anything away, and the way
Oh,
that
okay.
it ends. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I got you.
I want to buy that book and send it to Tanya Lynn just because of the
The
name.
title, yeah.
Little
So
jar.
on my author table, I have a little glass mason jar that's about this big, and inside of it, I got a set of like full adult teeth that for dentist students. And I sat there and I painted like red, bloody, like on the roots and everything, and then I put them in the little jar, and I stick them next to the stack of books, and that attracts people. Like they're like, "Oh my god!" when they realize it's teeth. That lures people in, and then not related to anything is my little business card holder is a mandible. So
Oh,
it really looks
that's
like
very clever.
yeah, I think I have a tooth fetish. I really don't, but you know, it is what it is. But it is fun.
I 3D printed molars for Tanya because in one of her books it involves teeth. So I 3D printed molars for Tanya Lynn. So I feel like I need to buy the book and send it to Tanya just because of the title. And she
She'd
does
like
write
it.
horror.
She'd like it.
Yeah. But all right, TL, what you got going on?
Oh, I have a book releasing tomorrow.
Ooh.
Oh,
I'm your cohort. I mean co-host, and I didn't even know that.
It's part of a shared world called Behind the Lens about cam girls and porn stars and stuff. And I used it to start my next gen for the Order of Ravens and Wolves. So that comes out tomorrow. It's small though; it's only like 50,000 words, so it's not huge. And my birthday's tomorrow.
Oh, happy birthday.
That's what I have going on.
I love how you don't tell me things. Okay. Anyway.
I don't even. I'm not good at marketing myself. If I didn't have a PA, no one would know I released anything ever.
I'm her cohort. She don't tell me nothing. We share a name. She don't tell me nothing.
No.
Any Hoosier. Oh, speaking of Hoosiers, you're not a Hoosier, but I didn't know you were from the Midwest, Miss Hatcher.
who me?
Yes.
Oh, Ohio. If my family wasn't here, I would not be here. Trust me.
I'm gonna forgive you from being from Ohio, but I'm glad you're from the Midwest. I'm from the Midwest too.
Oh, what
I'm
city are you?
I'm from Michigan. That's why I'm forgiving you from being from Ohio.
Yeah. Well, I'll
But-
forgive.
But I'm glad you're from the Midwest.
Yeah.
If it makes you feel better, I'm in the most hated province in Canada right now. So
There's the most hated province.
I know that seems.
Oh,
like
we
an
were like,
oxymoron.
what?
yeah, there's
Canadians have problems? Anyway, go on.
our premier, which is like our governor,
Yeah.
has a thing for Trump and is threatening to separate.
Oh.
The federal election didn't go her way, so we're being lumped in with like the tiny 10% that want to leave. So all of Alberta's kind of being lumped into that. So Canada has a hate on for Alberta right now.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
No, truly, we're sorry.
I'm sure it'll, we're not going anywhere. Like 90% of us don't want to leave Canada, so this 10% can yell all they want. Nothing's. You need a majority vote, something like that.
Speaking as
Huh.
speaking as the half of the country who didn't vote for our president, I feel you. But we're not gonna go down that path. No. I, on the other hand, don't have anything releasing, and I have a Kickstarter that's going on, but by the time this comes out, it'll be done. So I'm just out here just trying to word. It's not happening very well, but that's okay. So find all of these lovely people. Their websites will be in the description. So go order all the books, find all the things. I don't make it a mystery. I put all the things right in the description for you to find them. So you can just go read their mysteries and pretend to know who did it. You don't. You got to read the book. And then you can message, you can't call them, don't call them because you don't know them. But you can message them and you can go to their social medias and comment on their things and be like, how dare you make me fall in love with that character, and then off them. Or I thought I knew what you were going to do there and then you didn't do it. And now,
it's my gosh. It's what I do. It's what I live for.
You can say all the things, and then we can go, I made you feel things. And then, yeah, make our day. And
we like getting yelled at.
We do. Because we're a glutton for punishment. So anyway, thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you so much for having us. This has been fun.
It's been so much fun.
These are all my favorite people, so I had to join.
I'm sure I will have you guys back in on some other panel at some other time to talk about some other thing. But thank you so much for coming. And JC, I will see you, JC, in a few days. I can't remember the day right now, but it's in a few days because she is this month's author interview. Ooh. So I get to ask her a bunch more questions. Probably not any more planned than this was, because I'm just out here winging things. But JC knows that. She's known me for a long time now. We're besties. So, love you all. And is there anything else you guys want to add before we go? No? All right. Well, see you guys next time. What?
Before we go, if anyone does, the whole map with the red yarn, please send pictures to the authors. They want
send pictures. We want to see them.
Yes.
If you do anything like that, you draw pictures of our characters. You make your own notes. Mm-hmm. If you do family trees, if you do your own listen, if you do evidence notes or evidence bags or drawings, anything, we want to see them. Mm-hmm. We want to see.
We do. We do.
Yeah, I like that.
Uh-huh. We want to know. But anyway, thank you for joining us. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you have any questions for the authors, you can leave them in the comments, or you can message them yourself if you want to. Also, if you have any requests for future panels, let us know. See you next time. Okay, guys. Bye. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. We had so much fun.
Yeah. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.